Back?
That's right.
Okay, cool. So you see that we're live there?
Are we?
Yep, we
I
are
didn't.
live.
I didn't do my hair yet, so I wasn't prepared for. Is this the
Let me
Rick
see.
Bobby moment where I don't know what to do with my hands or whatever?
Just put them down by your side,
All right, cool.
and then here they come back. No. So I'm on my Bow Wow Bill page, and then I'm also on the YouTube channel. And do you know what I found out, man? 65% of the people that watch my content on the YouTube channel, 65% are not subscribed. So
A lot of people.
yeah, so take a moment, head over to the YouTube channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers there, and it's just another good way to get this content. And then also, I have to say it, man, my Patreon page, I just rebuilt it, and we're going to be doing a little segment after this live stream over on the Patreon side. I'm going to be doing a lot of exclusive content and working really, really hard on providing value to the people that follow me there, because you're going to be paying for that content on a monthly basis. And so we were just talking about some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about today. And I want to introduce everybody. This is Mark Pellon. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited. I'm glad we finally got to do this too. I know we've been talking for I think like 3 weeks now, but I've been looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah, I have too. And it's crazy how we make the connections, and we actually have, Teresa here.
Teresa, speaking of, right? Yeah,
right.
connections. Yeah. Thanks, Teresa. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. And you introduced or Teresa introduced us, and we've been chatting ever since. And I had a cold, man. I'm doing much better, so forgive me if you hear a little nasally in my nose. I should have brought a tissue in here too, man. So
I won't judge too hard. You know, my musical ear is listening though, but I won't judge too hard.
Oh, good. I'm happy. Mark, so where are you, man, in the world? And do you want to give everybody a quick bio about what you do, and then we'll get into it?
Yeah. So right now I'm in Beaufort, South Carolina for a very brief moment. I've been living here for the last couple of years, getting ready to move to Jacksonville, North Carolina here in June. So very excited about that. It's a very common occurrence. I'm an active duty military, so we move every 3 or 4 years. If we're lucky, sometimes it's 2. So we keep the house light. We don't, get too much big furniture, and we're ready to move every couple of years, but we're excited. Yeah, I'm a helper. I've been doing helper work now since I think 2005, 6 time frame. I got involved in Schutzhund, as I will always call it. I don't care how many acronyms we get. IGP, IPG. I don't know where we're at now, but I love it.
It's all Schutzhund?
Yeah, I will always call it Schutzhund.
Okay.
And I do that on purpose. And in fact, I recently joined an organization. I got to do a little bit of a little promotional for this, because I really believe in what they're doing. And I think a lot of people in the sport really need to consider it. So there's an organization that developed in the last few years. It's called American Schutzhund. And their goal has been to essentially bring back the true intent and spirit of the sport that was created, I believe, in the 1700s, something like that. I don't remember exactly when. But they really want to test these dogs, make sure that they're the right dogs for breeding, evaluating them the right way. I did a trial for them, my first trial for American Schutzhund last year in October. Teresa Courier, she's a great trainer here in South Carolina, in the North Charleston area. And she's got an incredible team over there, a great club. And I got to do a trial for them, and it was awesome. The routine was fresh and new for me. And the intent of the sport is just great. It pushes me as a helper who's been doing this for a really long time to really strive for even more. And I want to let everybody know, we get wrapped up about the world sport organizations, and we have enough people here in the United States that we could do this on our own. So yeah, check out American Schutzhund. It's an awesome organization. I think a lot more people should get involved. And I hear a lot of people honestly say, I would do it, but I want to see how many other people are going to do it. You know, like they're like not early adopters yet. It's starting to grow. They already had a national championship last year, and it was great. I didn't get to attend, unfortunately, had to work. But everybody who went told me that it was incredible. So I'm looking forward to being a part of that moving forward.
To restore and maintain Schutzhund as a relevant breed suitability test. Fantastic. Fantastic. That's exactly what it is, man. It's a breed suitability test for working dogs in America. American Schutzhund will test the ability of the dog to withstand stress and continue to function in difficult situations. We will continue to involve, always cognizant of the fact of the balance among the three phases of the test is what makes it so difficult, yet so important. So what are the three phases of the test?
So originally you had tracking. In American Schutzhund, we do nose work. So they're actually scenting and doing detection. Then you have obedience, and then you have protection. So those are your three phases. You're using the nose, obedience, and protection. In traditional Schutzhund, they used to do footstep tracking, and they would go into a big field, and they would try to essentially scent the footsteps of depending on the level, an aged track. It could be aged a few hours sometimes to simulate, let's say, tracking down a suspect, for example. Right. In American Schutzhund, they realized there's some serious logistical challenges with doing that kind of tracking because you need a lot of land, especially if you do like a big championship. So they decided to do detection work. And what they'll do is they'll train the dogs on odors. These dogs that are doing American Schutzhund, and by no means am I an expert in the detection side of things, but these dogs are out here. I watched these dogs do a trial, dogs that had never done it before in a trial setting. And I'm watching them searching, bricks, cylinders, looking for a specific odor and indicating that odor by a passive indication of sitting or laying down. This could be easily transferable into our police departments, into our military working dogs, et cetera. So yeah, that was fascinating. And then, of course, obedience and protection being vital to a good companion and working dog. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, this is great stuff, man. And one thing I love about military, one thing I love about the working dog aspect and what attracted me to it was the thoroughness and, just the protocols that are defined and the schedules and and the dogs, they love this stuff, man. And this is what these dogs were meant to do.
Absolutely.
And there's been kind of a split in the dog world where these working dogs, and then we have what I call looking at dogs, which are kind of like the show dog world,
Sure.
right? And a lot of times the temperament and the importance of suitability falls short in the show dog ring. And I think that it's very important to have aspects of this that maintain true to the original purpose and the origination of this sport and overall the why behind what we're doing.
That's right. Yeah. Especially if you're trying to be true to the people who created these breeds, right?
Yes.
Max von Stephanitz is the creator, famously for the German Shepherd, and his main priority was to keep the working qualities of that animal. Nothing else was more important to him than that aspect. So I think when we look at the world today, we have challenges, right? The sport tests the dog, and as it states properly, under stress. And there's a lot of people who feel that stressing these animals is inhumane, let's say, right? And it's unfortunate because we depend on these animals to do tasks, to serve human beings, and to be partners with human beings. But we can't do that unless we put them in real world scenarios. I mean, a bad guy breaking into the house does not care if you are using harsh commands or whatever. He cares about hurting you, and he cares about hurting that animal unless the animal is able to resist that. And I'm a fighter myself. As a person, I've done MMA and jiu-jitsu tournaments and all of that. You cannot replicate stress of that nature without putting yourself in those conditions. So it's unfortunate that there's so many people that don't realize that these animals are bred for purpose. Even small terriers, right? Ratting dogs and those kinds of, they have a purpose that they were built for. And those purposes need to be tapped into, or we'll see them come out in unfortunate ways, right? When the dog doesn't have a proper outlet, we see this a lot in pet training. We see a dog that was bred for a certain purpose, not getting its proper outlets, or at least something that would stimulate its thinking in its way of its nature. And now you get this kind of ticking bomb, syndrome, where after so much time, it eventually just goes boom. And they say, I never saw it coming. It was a perfect pet. And it's sad, honestly.
Well, it's the intrinsic desires that are inherent within that animal, right?
Right.
And it's our moral obligation as stewards, right? And I don't know if you're back on the cell phone signal, but you're a little choppy. I can hear you just fine, but you're a little frozen and stuff. So I don't know if that's the way. If people can let me know if Mark is frozen when they're watching. But I mean, just listening is fine anyway. You don't need to look at. I mean, Mark is very handsome.
I'm a pretty good looking guy, Bill. Like I need people to see this. Is there an issue?
Yeah, you're still frozen, but you're frozen like this right now.
No. Oh man, that hurts my heart.
I love it. But intrinsic desires, man, and just like us, if we're not fulfilled in life and something that we want and desire is being denied, there's going to be a time that it's almost like a steam vent. Like it's just built up and until we are going to express this because it's just who we are. And I think it's a disservice to the animal to not be able to stroke this intrinsic desire to do these things. And the other thing I wanted to mention, and I was reading through this, and so let me share the screen again because I wanted to see that not frozen. Cool. People are saying not awesome. Is I wanted to share, like on the American Schutzhund page, we're talking about this protection, right? And it's a two-part process here where the first courage, right? And I define courage as we feel the fear and we do it anyway, man.
That's right.
That's for a human being anyway. And that's what I see for the same as a dog. So the first is the courage, describes the dog's willingness to engage the helper during the exercises. And then the second, hardness, that describes the strength in its defense against the helper's attacks and pressure. Or another word that we might use in the human world is toughness.
Yeah.
Right. Hardness or toughness.
Yeah. The ability to endure. It's not just so much like engaging, but enduring. When you have let's say a serious suspect who wants to harm you, it's not going to be a moment of, conflict. It's going to be like, let's go. We see videos all the time of dogs being sent after a suspect in a car, and the suspect is violently, throwing and hitting that animal, perhaps even using a weapon against that animal. And the question is, does the animal possess the training that would allow it to endure so that a human being can A, not be injured, and B, get that suspect out of that vehicle, as an example, safely. So there's a lot of reasons why these animals have to possess those traits.
I mean, it's chaos and order. I mean, that's a natural rhythm of the universe. That's a natural rhythm of, fight or flight, chaos. I mean, fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, right? We have different aspects of that, but I mean, it just makes sense. And even I tell people when I'm doing my private training, when we talk about stress and toughness aspect, and that's one of the biggest things that I see missing out of the pet world is a toughening of these dogs that they can't even endure a stranger walking into the room. And some of this might be neurologically, genetically passed down, but a lot of it isn't, right? A lot of it's just training and just not the proper experience and generalization and overall toughness of being able to be okay. And I mean, also a good word for it might be confidence, right?
Absolutely.
Because it's not, I want my dog to act and to be, cognizant of a fact of when to act, but I also want them to be not stressed out at the very little change of their environment.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I also want to say, Bill, like, I think a lot of people believe that a working dog can't be a pet. And I will tell you right now, this is like the biggest lie in the world, in my opinion. I've got 2 really great working dogs, and I am the worst example of a working dog person because my dogs are my pets. They live with me. I don't do a ton of training with my dogs. I do some training because it's like you said, like a moral responsibility. But I'm not some national level competitor with my dogs. I love my dogs. They're part of our family. They live with us and they exist with us. Their temperaments are phenomenal. They can handle all sorts of stress. And I could also take them out into the field and I can do heavy duty protection work and great obedience work because they love it. And to me, the perfect working dog is the perfect pet. It has the right ability to do either one of those. The problem is when we don't tap into their needs, then those drives will naturally take over and you'll start to have issues. And I think a lot of the pet people will run into this because they don't realize that you can have a phenomenal dog, but you have an obligation to essentially tap into what is natural in that animal.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and to recognize that too, right? And to recognize not only what's natural to that animal, but what fulfills that animal, and to also recognize when you might be overwhelming that animal, right? Or what we call flattening or whatever, and where that
Yep.
bifurcation of overwhelm is. So it's an empowerment exercise instead of an overall learned helplessness exercise.
Agreed.
Right. And that takes, oh, Billy's here. We got some comments going. I just dropped my pen.
Hey, Billy.
You know Billy?
I don't, but it's nice to meet you.
Okay, here's Billy. She said, well said, Mark. She's awesome. So she's yeah, and that's it. It's like it takes the eyes, but it takes the experience. And it takes also, just like they say in that PSA, the responsibility of a judge overall to observe these overall attributes of a dog too. It's like we have to have the eyes to see, right?
Yeah.
And what do they say? The lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding, right? And that's an old hermetic principle, is like we have to understand, we have to know what we're looking at, and that actually takes respect, it takes experience, it takes openness.
Yeah, and a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, a lot of trial and error, but also there's normal challenges, and that's what we wanted to touch on too, about new trainers, right? And people just getting into this space and challenges that they might face, coming in is like a lack of opportunity, or people that are already established or very, very well, or might be intimidating to them. I don't know. It's something that, I know that you wanted to discuss as well. So how did you get started in the space as a professional? And what would you, if you were addressing or talking to somebody who's brand new into this, what would you say?
Yeah. Well, first, I noticed that Tabor, I think it is, had a question.
Yeah. Do you want to?
So he said,
since you have your dogs at home as pets, but they're performing out in the field as working dogs, do you ever see that they perform better in that environment, better where they were trained to perform those skills?
yeah, I think that's a good question. I think part of that is environment. Like I've raised my dogs since they were little puppies, 8, 7 weeks old, to be capable of both of these things. I would say that it depends on the eyes of the beholder, right? Because for me, my dogs in the home, they have a little bit of energy. They're working dogs, and so they have energy, and they're shepherds, which means that they should go all day and be able to do those kinds of things. So I've had to teach them to maybe settle and be in the home more responsibly, kind of things. But at the same time, for me, their level of settling, my line for that is lower. But if I were a person who doesn't know the breed and is just like, oh, I really like the way these puppies look and I want to get one, it might become overwhelming for that person, the same level of energy that my dog shows me and my wife, right?
Mhm.
I think naturally my dogs perform incredibly in the field and when we're doing training, and this is just what they were genetically bred to be. But again, I still think a great working dog should be a great companion. It should be an animal. Like we take them in the car all the time. We go to the beach. We do, they're in public. They're not hyper reactive to anything. I think that the perfect working dog is a perfect companion. And I would ideally want to see a dog that can perform well in both areas. I don't think that there's a lot of benefit to having an incredible Ferrari working machine on the field that when you come home, you're worried about people coming and visiting, or
Mm.
kids running past because they're kids, or, I don't see a benefit to that.
I see big drawbacks to that as far as the energetic residue that will leave in your brain. I was always
Mhm.
worrying about managing this damn dog.
Right.
And I tell people, especially with these dogs, like that are in these situations, like the management is only going to work until its first failure, and it's going to fail
Yeah.
because it always does, man. And so train your dogs. Now, do you have a different set of commands for in the house versus in the field?
I do, and it's something I get on my wife all the time because she kind of likes to play training with them. She loves seeing them perform, and so like I tell her all the time, I don't want you to use the training commands when we're in the home. For example, like I'll say like lay down in the home. In the
Mm-hmm.
field, I say plots, and those are two very
Perfect.
different behaviors, right? I want speed and precision in the field, and I want relax and lay down in the house, and you don't have to slam to the ground or anything like that. So I do think it's very important to distinguish those things, and for mostly for clarity for the dog, that they can feel confident and comfortable in whatever the scenario is, because we are consistent as handlers. So I definitely use different commands. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I even with working dogs as my bird hunters, like I
Mm,
have them come into the house, right? It's the same kind of aspect. When we're out in the field, we're using totally different set of commands. And not only that, but we're using indicators to this dog
yeah.
too. And a formal indicator like a choke chain or something that, dude, hey, mind your P's and Q's. We're putting this on you right now. Right. And it's like it's just showing that dog, okay, cool. Or or harness for pulling, a vest for hunting. Like there's different things that can be very obvious in that moment that reminds the dog of the particular situation and the task that's asked for them at hand in that moment.
Yeah, I love that. I talk about that a lot with people about cueing.
Cueing.
Because this sport that I do is 3 phases of tracking, obedience, and protection. The dog comes out of the car, out of a crate, let's say, and it's really important, in my opinion, that before the dog even comes out of that crate, it knows what phase it's about to enter in order for it to be, in that mind space. If a dog is about to go tracking and it thinks it's going to go do bite work, you're going to have a serious challenge on your hands. And you probably are not going to get the result you want. It's going to be erratic and it's going to be hectic instead of calm and precise. And the way I've taught people to do it is to use different verbal cues, different equipment, like you mentioned. I know people who will use different weight fur savers for different phases, so that the dog knows, like the really light one, we're going tracking, the heavy one, we're going to protection, because I need you to listen.
You gotta say that for my Patreon page,
Yeah,
dude. Like,
yeah, yeah. Sorry.
no, you're good. You're fine. We'll go more
Some of the
into that though,
secrets
but
of the
that's one of
trade,
the
but
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm marking that. But dude, let me show that. That's what I tell people with these dogs, man. I'm like, the dog doesn't need to know that leash is like this, dude. The dog knows the difference between this and that.
Mhm.
Okay, and he knows the difference between a weighted collar, different fur savers, man. I'm writing this one down.
No doubt. Yeah.
And so we'll talk about we're going to have some exclusive Patreon content. Join me on the Patreon page, patreon.com/Bow Wow Bills. And then I'm going to talk about some stuff there too. And I'm actually going to be uploading like almost every single day and then taking
Sweet.
you on my travels with me. I'll be heading to Sun Valley here in a few days. And we'll just see where it goes, man.
Do it.
Is what I want to do, is I want to take it to that next step. And I feel I feel like a rookie, man. I feel like a beginner. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where to go, but the thing is that I'm just doing it. And I remember talking to you, like when we first started, we didn't charge that much because, like, I mean, I didn't charge that much because I just didn't, I don't know, I wasn't as knowledgeable as I am now, and I didn't know what I didn't know. I was out to save the world, and yeah, I was a positive kind of only trainer, and then I realized that it worked in certain situations, but it overwhelmed dogs in other situations, and I just kept learning, and I'm still learning today. But you started in the same situation, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I would say my learning curve when it came to when I started, charging essentially, my learning curve happened really fast. I basically looked around and I said, I know that I'm capable, but when you're first establishing yourself from a business perspective, you have to kind of allow the market to talk to you in a sort of supply and demand format, right? So
Yeah.
I looked around and I said, what are the most demanded trainers charging? And then I would demand far less because I'm not as in demand. I think it's just kind of natural. And what I found quickly was I would get results really fast. And then I was getting way too much clientele. Like that was my problem is that I'm an active duty Marine and I'm getting crazy amount of people. Hey, call this guy. He's going to help you. Call this. And now all of a sudden I have 50 people calling and I can't handle that workload. And all of them were willing to pay the price I had established. So I, like, within a week of putting my business cards out there and making some phone calls, I had already doubled my price in a week because I couldn't handle the workload. And then a week later, I'm like, that didn't work either. And then I started realizing some trends. I said, okay, some people are very interested up front. And then I help them, in the first session even. And then they feel like, I got what I needed. I don't have to come back. And a lot of times there was a verbal, I'm a person of character. I believe that you have to have character as a human being if you want to have any level of success in any facet. And so I often would tell people, hey, I need to work with you at least 5 sessions for your basic issues. Even if you see quick progression, we need to work together so we can establish some consistency, because experience, you can't make, one of my best friends says this all the time, you can't microwave experience. You have to earn that through time. And so they would always be like, of course, 5 sessions, definitely. And then after 1 session, they see the progress and they go, I'm not interested. So one of the ways that I quickly started weeding that issue out was I would demand payment up front for a series of sessions. And even that didn't minimize the clientele. And that's when I started realizing I don't think that I can do pet work anymore because it's going to be there. And I have too much other stuff. I'm a national level decoy and I travel all over for competitions and I give seminars. So you add in active duty plus, clients every day of the week. If I wanted to, I couldn't sustain that. And I realized I'm going to put this away for a while. And when life is in the right season, I'll come back to this to help people because I know that I'm capable of it. But yeah, it was an interesting process to let the market kind of tell me, where am I, what are my skill sets value, and how to navigate it, I suppose.
So what would you say to an upcoming trainer? Like, how would you, I mean, you're in the Marines, right? And so you also have things drawing at your time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, like, there is a time, especially if you're working at a place and you're trying to get the boat close to the dock so you can get on the boat and then go sailing off on your new career as a dog trainer without getting wet, right?
Yeah.
And so, that's what I did. I was actually waiting tables, right? And then I was like, okay, I have to make this much money a day,
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of reverse engineer, how do I do that?
Sure.
And then offering different services and stuff for the pet dog clientele. But I also think that it's important as a professional, it's just to remember to have fun at this, man, and to know that you love this, and not only that, but to kind of put those blinders on and listen to your heart and listen. I mean, if you have a faith, like we talked about, like you can pray about it. There's things, different aspects of ways that things show up in this world, that it's your choice to listen to them. And you know, I think that that's another aspect of this, is like, don't get caught up in the minutia that's already out there. Like there's a uniqueness about you, and there's an intrinsic desire that you have that's pulling you to work with animals, and there's something magical within that. And you know, there's something we could all teach each other, but there's also something that we can learn from you as well, right? And that's why I do these talks. And so that's what I encourage people to do, especially new up and comers, to just don't lose the uniqueness and and be authentic, be your authentic self.
Sure. Yeah, especially the new, like my biggest piece of advice to anybody, and this isn't dog specific, dog training or this is really any endeavor that we love and we want to turn into a profession. That happens to a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. You know, people play video games and love that, and they become professional gamers. And I think that one of the challenges is kind of transitioning from hobbyist into professional. And I study business a lot, and I just try to get into the mindset of what people do. One of the things that I learned early on was, if you love something and you think you're good at it, give it away. Give it away for free. And the people will tell you whether or not there's a value that is worth more than free. Because a lot of times when you're starting, you have questions for yourself. You're trying to figure out, am I of the value that I think I am? And so until you get confirmation of that through a lot of back and forth experiences, you really don't have the answer yet to that. You're kind of self-questioning to determine. It's to be determined, right? I think one of the best things I did was I kept my price very low up front and allowed the market to tell me that clearly it was too low. But if I think there's some people who will do the opposite, right? They'll go, well, this is what the market is doing, and that's where I'm going to start. But you haven't built any personal credibility. Forget the credibility of the market, just self-credibility to answer to you in the mirror, to know that you can walk into the random house with the random dog and you can handle the situation in front of you. It takes time. And so I tell people, keep it accessible, and let time and prayer and thought and feedback help guide your decision about when you feel you're going to be where you hope to be. I think that's just a natural progression that has to occur in any kind of transition from hobbyist to professional.
Yeah, and listen to it too. And big decisions, especially like business expenses and stuff like that, always sleep on it, right? Buy a dog, sleep on it. Like there's things and pray about it, like sit it and see what happens in the morning, but listen.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're like, dang it, I'm gonna go do it anyway, and then that's not always the right thing to do. And it's also we mentioned too, like there's other ways, and that's one of the reasons why I do these live streams, of learning in this technological age, right? And so we can accelerate that, and it's just be open and seek out the teachers and the people that resound with you, but also be open to the ones that really don't, because a lot of times I tell people we're offended by the things that we kind of need to work on within ourselves. And if there's somebody that kind of knee-jerk reaction, you're like, oh, I don't like that person, I'm always like, got to revisit this one.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, no, I hate them. They're no, not hate, but they're just an asshole or whatever. I don't know, but it does take constant reevaluation. That's what, if we look at the word respect, right? Re is again, and then spectare is to look, to take another look, is essentially what respect is. So, and check it out.
Yeah.
So what are geographical challenges? Like you go everywhere for the sport, but I can see, like, let me like, just traveling to Denver, bro, me, like I could barely talk after going there because I live down here at sea level, right? And so I can see the challenges of just traveling to different areas and the climates, and we're going balls to the wall. These dogs are, and that's just how they live,
Yeah.
right? We have like different bugs and heat. There's humidity. What are some of the things that you encounter? And
So for me, the biggest thing I was considering when I was talking about geography and the challenges that it presents, I was thinking first about getting access. So our country is huge, right? It's a massive country. And even if you're doing, and I love that you brought up like digital training, right? Because there's so much a bit YouTube University. That's what it is. You can access
YouTube
information on
University. Yep.
YouTube, anywhere. The problem is filtering that. And so I think I always share with people, I think one of the most important things is you got to find mentors. You got to find people that you can physically be training with and getting one-on-one guidance kinds of things, because it's hard to replicate that even if you've been exposed to material cognitively. Your emotional intelligence of the subject might completely be devoid if you're not getting a chance to be in person. And so the geography issue, and this happens a lot in the sport that I do, and I'm sure it can happen if you're a trainer just trying to learn the best pet training techniques as well. You might find that, oh, so-and-so is exactly the person I want to be training with. Oh, they happen to be a 12-hour drive, or I need to catch a flight to even go be in their proximity, or they're going to give a seminar, but they're 2 states away. And like, you have to try to overcome these geography challenges in our country. Whereas in Europe, we talk about this in our sport all the time. You'll have, within a 20-minute drive, you'll have 12 clubs, all full of experts, and you take your pick, right? Here in the US, we've got pockets in major areas. Like there's a great club down in Atlanta, a great one in Charleston, a great one in Chicago area, a great one, and they're far apart. And so if you're a newcomer into this, or you're like, hey, I want to be a trainer. I want to learn how to train dogs. I need a mentor, and I'm eventually going to be a professional. You're blessed if you find somebody who's excellent and is a good teacher, because those are 2 separate things, in my opinion, who can take you under their wing and they're within proximity, just because our country is so huge in its nature. So that to me is one of the biggest geographical issues. People have to, I run into people in my sport all the time who will drive 3-4 hours one way, train, and go home that night 4 hours again, train all day, and then drive. So total 8-hour drive to just train with the right people, because it's, other than that, it becomes very difficult. And
That's
then
why I love it. That's why I love it.
Yeah.
You got people that are absolutely dedicated, and not only that, and I've been at these facilities, and they're like, "Hey, man, I've seen your live streams or whatever," and I'm just like, "It's awesome." It's because, and that's where I've always said, it's not the amount of people that I want to watch my content. It's those people. It's the people that do drive, that are dedicated to learn and dedicated. It's just kind of different wavelength stuff, right? And even the people that are just love their dog too, that aren't really into that. But I get it, and I've traveled so much, man. Like if I even looked at like how much I've done, even with the NAPO Post School driving, when they canceled all my flights, I went and rented a Suburban or one of the big Tahoes, and took my dog, my slap mill, everything, all my dogs, all my kennels, and drove 35 hours to go to school. And then I audited a week as well. And I drove 35 hours. Dude, it sucked driving home so bad.
I believe you.
That's because, yeah, it's like 3 days of 12-hour. And the third day was just like, oh man, just get me home. Just get me home. But it's worth it, man. And we make sacrifices as well, to understand these dogs, and just to get a better understanding of watching people work with them. And, I feel so thrilled that Bart Bellon has handled my dogs, right? Or my mentors has worked with my dogs. But that's unique, man. And I've paid for that experience as well. And that's another aspect of this too, is the equipment. And, um, but I think that with the technological aspects too, there are ways, and I've helped people on the Zoom calls, and, there's different ways, but nothing beats being right in front of somebody, dude, in person, and, just seeing them in that moment.
You can't replicate it. I mean, so when I started you asked me earlier how I got started. When I started dog sport, I was in Hawaii, and that does not have a lot of options. It's super niche, very small amount of people that even think about dog sport out there. And I happened about it on accident. I was on the military base out there. I had just bought a German Shepherd female from the Big Island, a separate island in the chain. I was stationed in Kaneohe Bay. And the breeder for the German Shepherd was actually a working line breeder, but I had no concept of working lines, show lines. I didn't even know. I just said, a friend of mine bought a puppy, and he told me to come check out his puppy. And it was incredible. Instincts like crazy. It was stalking in the backyard. Like, I was like, how is this puppy 9 weeks old? He goes, I don't know, man, but I'm buying another one. I'm going to get a boy, and they have a female available, and we can buy them together and ship them in one crate. It'll be perfect. So I did that. I'm driving around the base, and I see a group of people in the middle of a field on the base, and their dogs are like going over walls, and they're throwing these dumbbells and picking them up and bringing them back and sitting perfectly in front of them. They're doing bite work, and I'm like, what is that? And so I got involved like that with an 8-week-old puppy. I was like, hey, I want to learn. And they said, come and watch, because your puppy's only 8 weeks, so it's not really time. But that's how I got started. And over the next year, as I was training my dog to get her first title, a BH is what they call it, Beglet Hund, which stands for it's kind of like a good citizen CGC kind of idea, right? For AKC. I realized that if I wanted to learn more, I was going to have to do that on YouTube or videos. And back then there weren't that many videos. Like, this was in 05, 06 timeframe. Nowadays, there's incredible seminar programs online that you can go through. Marco Cosquensalo, an incredible trainer, has an entire online system that you can work interactively with him, and there's study videos for you, right? And there's others in Europe that are big time. Knut Fuchs is another one who's great. I think he's got a program. So I mean, and Christine Kisser, I don't know if you know who she is, but she's in Canada, and she's an amazing woman. She's like I love her to death. She was there for me and many years ago when my helper suit ripped. She owns a company called Rough Dog Sports, and she called or messaged me out of nowhere and said, hey, I saw that your suit ripped. What size do you wear? And out of nowhere, she sends me a brand new suit. I mean, just an incredible woman. Rough Dog Sports is her company, but she's an incredible trainer. I remember this. This is the national championship in Arkansas, actually. Where'd you find this?
YouTube. Your channel.
Oh, nice. My left knee, or I'm sorry, my right knee in that video is double wrapped with, I have two basically giant knee braces on, because I tore the ligaments in my knee a week before that tournament. And I had surgery on it just last year. And that was in 2018 that happened.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I remember this dog actually, vividly. Yeah.
Good looking dog.
Yeah, a very spicy dog. If you keep watching, you'll see what I mean. So you'll notice the dog is supposed to be in total control, and it is, but it's still barking at me because it's like, let's go. I want to get this guy again.
It's primed, bro. Yeah, you can tell.
For those who don't know this is called the back transport. And what the dog is simulating is that it is escorting me. And if I do anything wrong, it will be automatically engaging. So I'm going to attack the handler now in 3, 2, 1. And the dog has to instantly engage without hesitation. No command is even necessary, although the handlers often give a command there. And then the handler releases the dog on command. and approaches and regathers control. When the handler's not involved, the dog is in control with the helper. When the handler comes in, the dog now has to pay attention immediately to the handler and be totally submissive to handler. So, or at least in cooperation. I shouldn't use submissive.
Okay.
And then this is called the side transport, where the dog is making sure I'm behaving all the way to the judge. We got a question here from Billy, I think.
Okay, let me pause this here. Did I just find this stuff? I'll just watch this and geek out on it, zone out here. Let's put up the question here. Question for both of you. Oh, here, I want to say hi to Isabella really quick. Her daughter, such a sweetheart, man. And she was working. Oh, I got pictures of
a
her.
Horse rider. I see.
Yeah, horse and they got German Shepherds as well.
Wonderful.
And we were doing a play, Jack, and her daughter was so cool, dude. And she's a little dog trainer. I often tell my people, or even my fans, I see more talent sometimes in my clients' kids than I do in some of my colleagues. And that's
I get that.
You know, so hi Isabel. A question for both of you. Do you screen clients via phone consultation prior to meeting in person? Heck yes, I do. I schedule phone calls at first to see if us, the humans, can maintain, cooperate, share, listen. I'm picky about my clients. In a position where I can accept good fits and refer out to other trainers that are more suitable. Do you think I'm doing a disservice to myself, a business, by relying on phone consultations to screen out potential clients? I have an answer, but I'll let you answer first, Mark. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah. The answer is heck yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like pet clientele in particular. If it's more sport dog related stuff, most of the time I already know who they are unless they're new to the sport. And if they are, I'll often ask, are you training with a particular club? Because I've worked with so many around the country. I usually know someone that they might know. But if it's pet clientele, I will not even meet them until we have a phone consultation just to get to know them. I mean, I think it's fair if we're going to train together, we have to have some sort of rapport, because you need to understand me. I need to understand you. I want to be able to pick up on any little nuances of the personality of that person, because I think that's another important aspect of teaching anything. You have to be able to do it at the level of which the person is capable of receiving. So initial conversation is excellent. I still reserve, like, let's say I get a little bit of a vibe in the initial consultation on a phone call, but I decide to go forward with an initial, training session just to kind of double check, let's say. I still reserve the ability to say, look, I don't think I'm the best fit and in fact, it happened to me very recently with a sport person who said, I want you to be my trainer. You're going to take me to the world championship, all this stuff. And I was like, wow, that's very flattering of them. I've never taken anybody to the world championship, so they must think very highly of me. First session, I said it was an entry-level fee to just get to know each other and to see the dog and to meet the person. And they came with a very large check first session, it caught me off guard. Not that I was upset, but I actually refused to take the check because I wanted to see if the relationship between us was going to work longer term. And so I said, this one's on the house. I don't want that check yet. I want to build a rapport. Next session, let's establish something. Next session came, but there were some weird calls between the first and second session. And all of a sudden I started getting some interesting feelings about the whole thing. Second session happens, and then she asked me a question about taking ownership of the dog if the dog was really talented. And at that point, I said, I think I'm not the right fit. So always reserve the right to do what is best for you as a trainer. But definitely, I would recommend screening over the phone, if anything, just to get to know the person and to build a little bit of rapport before you have to do some training with expectation.
I agree. And not only that, but like I have this like a pointy app on my website, and for some reason the people have just been signing up, and I need to go and switch it because I need to qualify and give the people the green light a little bit here. And it's a little bit different with classes, but even with classes, group classes, I'll qualify them because I don't want an aggressive reactive dog taken away from the experience of everybody else, or
Sure.
somebody that's not capable of even handling this high maintenance animal. And it's something that, yeah, even with classes. So no, you're not making a mistake at all, Billy. Qualify, make sure you know what you're getting into. This is a weird esoteric thing too, because we're talking about interspecies communication, and we're talking about a very emotional relationship that I did that on your appointment app.
I just
Yes, you
read that.
did. She did,
I
dude.
just
Like
read
I
that.
remember you did set up an appointment. But I'm talking like people are setting up. I have appointments here at the ranch that people are coming or wanting to, and that's awesome. I want to do this stuff, but I'm busy. Like I've been out of town, and somebody set up an appointment. Which is, and I've reached that level too, where I want to help, but I want to help more people in a principal role, right? And that's where I'm working on being this content creator. And but yeah, qualify people 100%. There's just crazy people out there too, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
And they might have ulterior motives. They might be over their head. They might have gotten into a situation that they need help getting out of, but unfortunately I'm not that guy, and I'm sorry that they're in that situation, but I can help them with certain aspects of it if that's going to work out, but a lot of times it just doesn't. So thank you. I've done the same thing, refusing to check. I have too. And the other thing too, man, is I give all that money back. Like as soon as somebody says like, hey man, I didn't like, or whatever, I'm like, here's every single penny you've given me back. Like, no problem, man. It's not an issue. And usually I just don't get in my head over, crazy amounts, but like, yeah, it's something that, yeah. So qualify your clients, and so you don't have to do that.
Definitely. It's not worth the money.
No, it's not. And then, so they just had, I had Bart Bellon on, and we was talking about the televised, didn't they do something new in Germany now with this sport that they're starting to televise a league? What's going on with that?
I didn't realize that they were televised, but I'll tell you, a couple of years ago, I met a man. He was an incredible man. Unfortunately, he passed away not too long ago from cancer. His name is Brian Harvey. And he's been in the sport for a long, long time, really like as the kids would say, an OG of the sport. And he came up with a concept that I truly believe in. And I don't know what God has in store for me, but maybe one day I'll help lead this charge again. His son-in-law, I believe, John Bohannick, who's an incredible dog sport trainer and dog trainer at all. He's up in Michigan. They started this thing called the Schutzhund League Challenge, I believe it was called. And I hope I'm getting that name right. But basically the idea was like, we want to bring in professionals, and there's going to be a grand money prize at the end of the competition. And the reason they were doing this, it was really fascinating to talk to them, was because they studied bull riding and how that actually transpired in our country and how it became what it is today. So bull riding started off in like just people doing it for fun,
My dad was a professional bull rider.
Really?
Swear to God.
That's fascinating. So
that's him winking down at us right now, man. That's
I'm going to tell you this, my family heritage is from Spain. And like, I tell my wife all the time, I got to get out there to do the running of the bulls. Because I feel like every time I do a courage test, which if you don't know what a courage test is, it's when they send the dog from the opposite side of a football field, and I have to run at the dog and attack the dog, and the dog is supposed to run at me without hesitation, and we meet in the middle kind of idea, right? Okay. And it's powerful, it's fast, and it can, if you mess up, it can hurt really bad. Similar to a Spaniard matador, which is something I've always been kind of associated with, right? Anyway, so the bullfighting thing, or bull riding, excuse me. The reason why bull riding today is a multi-million-dollar televised thing is because there was a group of people who were really passionate about it. They did it for fun. Somebody saw that it was exciting, similar to like the protection sports stuff that you were just showing on the screen, right? Yeah, so this is like a courage test. Now, what you're showing is a KMPV courage test, I believe, or a
PSA.
PSA, excuse me, PSA, which is associated with the American Schutzhund. PSA and American Schutzhund are part of the same organization. So yeah, this is like a test of the dog's courage, but trust me when I tell you it's a test of the helper's courage. Can you imagine this televised nationally with a huge competition with the best trainers in the nation and sponsorship, you know, where Coca-Cola and Monster Energy and Under Armour, everybody sponsors it so that we could have big money associated with this. And then people who dedicate their lives to training would be able to make a living off of that, right?
Yeah.
And it would only advance the training of animals and make it more popular for people to understand how great these sports are, you know?
Well, look at what he throws. To me, I know exactly what's happening. He's throwing this as to see if that dog's going to go
A
after that.
distraction. Yeah.
Right, distraction, right? And I do this with my training with my clients at a heel. I'll throw one of their dog's favorite toys right in front of their face, right? And just certain aspects of this are just proofing and showing us what is motivating that dog, what the dog prefers.
That's right. And so the dog is targeting the inner bicep here because it's a suit. If he were wearing a sleeve like what you saw me using, then he would only target the sleeve itself. But in suit work, we teach different targets, right? Inner bicep, tricep, hamstring, and then the like shin area are all really standard targets. So, but yeah, you know, I think the development of what Brian Harvey tried to start in this country, which was the professionalizing and sponsorship of a nationally televised dog competition, which I've seen other types of dog competitions, you know, on reality TV programs popping up left and right, but they seem to fizzle out because it's hard to kind of sustain that level of excitement with dog sports sometimes, and the amount of people you need to keep it going. But, you know, 2 out of every 3 millennials own a dog. I would say that's pretty big.
I think that they're missing the mark, man. I think that they're running it through their HR department.
Yeah.
You know, where it's just like it's got some elements that are very attractive, right? And even the Netflix one where they had the e-collar stuff.
Right.
I didn't even watch it, but I was intrigued a little bit by it, but it's just like they don't go as to the empowerment level, right? Of like, I would love, especially like, you know, those shows, The Great Adventure or something, where people travel around on these scavenger hunts. Like, wouldn't that be so cool to do with your dog?
That would be wild. Yeah.
As a team, and you have to rely on your dog's scent work here to get this next clue, right? And then at the end, you're going to have some courage and stuff, and it's all aspects of Schutzhund, but it would be like a scavenger hunt, right? And
that would be amazing.
Would that be so cool to do? So that's one of my, I mean, just thinking about ways that we can bond with our dogs, man, and what an adventure to go along together where you rely literally on each other. That's what's so cool about, like, even when I see homeless people, like with a dog, I'm feeding that dog, man. Like it's a life that that dog is having an adventure and a lot more fulfilling life than a lot of these dogs that are trapped in a backyard that I see sometimes. I mean, that's just how I feel about that. I think that dogs benefit our lives as human beings, and regardless of what station, what experience, or where you're at, we deserve that. And yeah, so I think that's a good idea, man. It's just great adventure with your dog.
I feel like, you know, we nationally televise show dogs, for example. And people who don't even like follow that will watch that. And they're running in a circle and being evaluated by a judge. And most of the audience who's watching on TV doesn't even know what the evaluation is judging per se. Can you imagine like watching something on TV where it was exciting? Like, you know, you're throwing a dumbbell over a wall. The dog is going up and over, grabbing that dumbbell, coming back, sitting perfectly in front, and then finishing with speed and precision. And you don't have to know anything about that to be like, wow, that was freaking cool. And then to watch a dog like run at a dude who's running at the dog, yelling, throwing things. I think anybody would find that exciting. And I wish that there was some movement in the dog sport community to kind of say, hey, how can we elevate the beauty that is all these breeds and what they're capable of, and educate people on why they maybe shouldn't have them or should have them. That would be a big part of it too.
Well, and realizing that this is for the dog too, man. Like, this is, a lot of people, I think, could just look at it as a reflection of themselves.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's a good point.
what would you think that mean by that?
Well, like the success of your dog gives you a stature, right? Like, if, let's say, you win the world championship, oh, I'm the best trainer in the world, so it can definitely do that. And I'll be honest with you, when I started doing this helper work stuff, I did it with a thought in my mind that one day I'm going to be at the world championship and everyone is going to know who I am. That's literally what I thought, Oh man, I love this routine. I've seen this video before, and it is a great dog.
Yeah, this one's 2017.
Yeah, but
so just walk through what's going on here.
Okay,
and
so right
I
now,
love about this too. Hold on one second. Just one is the woman. Like this is the other aspect of this too that maybe we need to mention is 85% of my clients are women. Okay, and so as a pet dog trainer, I think that women see and also might have. Let me try to word this carefully, because I'm really been perplexed on this. Like, and what I boil it down to is like thinking with emotions, where we try to think with our emotions.
Yeah.
And then I've also boiled it down to is like nurturers by nature. And sometimes a dog can look at that as kind of like a sucker or something that they can take advantage of. And so we kind of need to tap into what I call mama bear. And mama bear is like a stoic, like there is a stoicism about this. This is a calm, gathered, powerful energy within that.
Leadership, right?
It is a total leadership, but it's silent, it's present.
Yeah.
Once I feel it and tap it, I'm like, later, because it's intimidating. It's like, whoa, like there's something to this. And so I mean, that's the other aspect of, like, I think some women aren't ready for, or some of my clients that I've seen and observed aren't ready for the challenges that come with a higher maintenance dog without having to rely upon a professional. And I highly recommend doing that anyway. That's what I rely on, professionals. But I love this routine, and just look how gathered she is. And
so
I think
she's an incredible handler for sure. I've seen this video many times. She's doing the obedience routine of the competition. So this is the obedience phase. And what you're witnessing right now is the initial 30 paces that she has to take before she does an about face. There it is. And now she's going to continue doing that. And in about 5 steps, she's going to start running, I believe.
Okay.
And then she's going to change to a really slow pace. And so now you see she's really dramatically slow. And then she's going to go back to a normal pace and make a right turn. And here comes the normal pace after exactly 10 steps. And then a right turn. She's going to go, I think it's 15 steps and another right turn. And then I believe it's 20 steps and an about face, or an about turn, I should call it. You'll see the dog spin around her body. There it is. Yep. And then she's going to come to a halt, and the dog needs to instantly sit. There it is. And she's looking at the judge for him to signal when it's okay to move on, essentially.
Okay.
And now she's going to go back to the starting position, and she's going to begin the exercises phase of the obedience, which involves a sit in motion, meaning she's going to keep walking, and then she's going to give a sit command. The dog must execute it instantly, and then she will keep going. The dog will remain behind, and that'll all happen after she does this healing amongst the crowd. Notice that the dog is obviously not paying attention to absolutely anybody but her.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a key component of being able to heel through the crowd. And now begins the exercises. So she'll do the sit in motion. She'll give the command while she's moving, and she's going to keep going while the dog stays behind. After that, she'll come back to her dog. Then we're going to see the down in motion and a recall, which is really great because the dog gets the full out sprint as fast as it can. The dog's attention is solely on the handler right here. And it's exactly the picture you want to see, because a lot of times dogs will start to kind of look around and then wait for the handler to come back, and then they'll pay attention. This dog was focused on her the whole time.
Love it.
Now she's going to do 10 to 12 paces, and then she's going to start running, and then she will give 10 paces and a down command, a plots command. Here it comes. Plots. Instant willing obedience. Dog is focused on her, and now she's going to recall. So she's going to have a here command, and the dog must come directly in front of her, sit without extra command, and wait for the finish, which is the essentially around the body.
And you can see really quick, if those that didn't watch that, the indicator when this judge walks by, watch the judge's arm.
He indicates for the handler, yeah.
Right, and the judge by itself, watch the dog's attention, even though we have a dog or somebody approaching from the flank right here on the side, right, yeah. with the arm up, almost like a striking. As I knocked over my water here. Did you hear that?
I did.
That's funny. And then my dog's over here growling at it. But at least I got this hardwood floor here for my dog, and a towel right here.
So now, for those watching, she's going to do the stand, which means the dog has to just stop on a dime. Boom. There it is. Very nice. I think the dog took like one step, but I mean, it's a beautiful stand.
I want to see that again.
Stop is the command here.
Like he just did a little shudder. Back feet were in cement.
Yeah, the left front paw did like one step, but it was excellent as far as an exercise. And then a recall. Yeah. Now she's going to start doing the retrieves with the dumbbells that we had talked about, which are always very, like, it's got to be lightning fast, calm holding of the dumbbell, and powerful gait, leaving the handler and returning the handler. All of that is really important in this exercise. Because it's the highest level, she's going to be throwing the level 3 dumbbell, which is pretty heavy, believe it or not. Like, this dog is carrying some weight on his neck, in his mouth. This big dumbbell will only be thrown on the flat ground. There will be a smaller dumbbell over the wall and over the 1 meter hurdle.
Okay.
So there's the command. Instantly returning with speed. Could be faster, but it was still a very good exercise. Maybe good at a world championship, honestly, because it was a slower sit as well. And
then you want the dog pushing into the handler or at all?
Not ideally, no. Okay. Ideally, the dog would not rely on any of the handler's body to execute any of that portion. So she'll get, deductions in her points for this.
Okay.
But ideally, the dog is going to go out and come back quickly. And the speed of which it goes out should be the same speed of which it returns. I think she messed up throwing it. No, I guess not.
I was a little blind there. Yep.
That's a 1 meter hurdle. The dog is not allowed to touch it as it jumps over. If it does, there's deductions for that as well.
And that judge is right there, boy. Look at that.
He's watching everything, I promise.
Yeah, that's what he's right at that jump here.
And then this is probably the A-frame, the wall, 6 feet.
No. I just rewound it just a little bit so you can see that judge, right?
Yep.
Look at that judge right there, man. Looking at that.
It's a beautiful jump, perfect technique from the dog, tucking the back feet, which means they spent time teaching the dog how to actually do it properly. A lot of people just throw it and let their dog go boosh, and they'll hit this thing sometimes. I'm one of those people. I suck.
Well, some dogs, you just are like, oh, they got it.
And now she'll go over to the wall, which is a little over 6 foot, I believe.
Nice.
And you see there's power there, right? Like the dog is
Yeah.
going up and over with ease. You don't want to see a dog laboring to do this. This should be pretty effortless for a nice, powerful dog. She'll get some point deductions for body language because when she gives that command to finish, she says foos. There's a little bit of a head turn and a shoulder lean to cue the dog's motion. So she'll get deducted points for that as well. Ideally, we have to be like a robot and the dog executes
Oh, I
perfect.
see it. I saw it. Yep.
Yeah. So she'll get some
Itty
deductions.
bitty. Yep.
Judges are always being extra on that stuff nowadays. Nowadays, it's hard to get high scores in obedience. Honestly, I don't like the way the direction of obedience is going. It's becoming almost impossible for people to have success because the judging has become just absurd. Instead of judging the spirit of the animal and its cooperative nature with the handler, now it's like, I want you to be a robot. No mistake allowed. Any breathing pattern is different, and I deduce a half a point because you weren't enthused. It's just kind of crazy to me. This is the last thing of the routine, and she'll do what's called a send away. She's going to send the dog, and he has to run straight forward and wait for a command from the handler. On the judge's signal, down. Boom. Beautiful. I mean, that's got a standing ovation in the stadium. I promise you that.
Well, look at the views out of everything. That was just the view. Can you see the little peak right here with the most replayed?
Oh, yeah.
That is by far, it's like a little mountain there.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that was picture perfect. It could have maybe been a little bit faster going out, but like the second she gave that command, that dog splat. Actually, looking at it now, he's going pretty fast. Yeah.
Oh.
It's beautiful. I mean, that dog is about 70 yards away when she gave that command. And you see the instant response to her voice.
That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
But that's, I mean, and that dog out there being a freaking superstar, dude. Like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt.
It's something that is, I'm currently, or let's see, we got a comment here. I'm currently past 2 years, been looking for a puppy. I'm in no hurry. So what I'm doing is utilizing one of my adult German Shepherd dogs to practice for preparation and getting a puppy for sport.
Excellent.
What I've asked my helper is to do bite development foundations on my adult dog so that I can practice observation, handling, mechanical skills. Do you have any other advice that she could be practicing in preparation for getting a puppy? Thank you.
Yeah. First of all, Billy, you're already doing exactly what you should do, which is to start kind of gathering skills with an older dog that you're not so concerned about the outcome. You're just, let's have some fun. Let's learn some skill sets. And there's no pressure about this. And that's a good thing to start with, right? The other thing that you want to start doing, so a challenge with starting with an older dog and then going to a puppy is really getting the understanding of the entire arc of training a dog in protection and sport, for example, because the puppy phase is really unique. There's certain things that I try to tell people this all the time. Here's one of my biggest pieces of advice, Billy, would be if you have a quality puppy, you do not need to do a lot of training for bite work. You need to do quality training once in a while, imprinting that quality early when it's young, before the teething phase is a good thing to do. And then leave it alone until the dog has all its teeth. Focus on your relationship, obedience, tracking. That stuff to me is really important. A lot of people, when they start doing, puppy work, they do too much. And the biggest, most important thing for puppy work is engagement. You want that puppy to look to you and for you in every motion you do. It can actually be a little annoying if you're in the kitchen and the dog is like 3 and you can't move because the dog's constantly like, what do you want? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? But for sport, it's a great thing because what we need is the dog looking for us and to us for guidance at all times, being engaged and just responsive. As far as the bite work is concerned, I would recommend, like when they're little, you want to get either a jute or leather rag You can find them on all sorts of different websites. I would recommend roughdogsports.com with Christine Kisser. She has a ton of equipment there that's excellent.
Or is it RUFF? RUFF Dog Sports or?
Yeah, ruffdogsports.com. And tell Christine I sent you. I think she actually gives people like a little hookup sometimes when I send them there. But anyway, yeah, you get yourself like basic puppy stuff, and you don't need to do a lot. You want to keep things short with puppies, like 5 minutes of exciting play. Always grip to the back of the molar and not front of the mouth. And if the puppy is in the front of the mouth, you have to find a way for it to re-grip to the back and then let it go. Always end the grips with the puppy all the way in the back of the mouth. If you do any bite work during the teething phase, when they're losing teeth, that could become a challenge later on. Depends on the puppy, of course. Like my male, he would literally rip his teeth out of his mouth to play bite stuff, and he did not care, and it doesn't bother him even today. He's special, right? But another dog might remember the pain of doing that in the puppy phase for teething. So don't do bite work during teething stuff. Let the teeth fall out, let them grow their teeth. And then when they're, 8, 9 months old and they've got their teeth, you can start going back to that. Yeah. And then just know you're going to make some mistakes, and that's okay. It's natural. Don't be in any hurry at all. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, by the time the puppy's 16 months, you got to have your BH. By the time the puppy's 22 months, you got to have your IGP-1. Don't let any of that happen. Take your time, learn, figure out who are the people that are successful in this and what are they doing, and ask questions and just be an eternal student. That's what I consider myself as well. So that would be my advice to you, and best of luck. Definitely, if you need help and you're looking for a German Shepherd, I know a lot of high quality breeders. I'd be happy to point you in the right direction.
Beautiful. Yep. And set that timer, man, because sometimes you just are like, dang it, I've been working 15 minutes. Like I have to set my timer when I'm working those puppies, right? 3 to 5 minute windows, capture, end on a good thing, on a good note. But yeah, it's also the relationship with yourself too is huge, right? And building rapport, and just like we were talking about with clients, and if it's a good fit, like we want to make sure that it's a good fit with that dog. And you know what, that brings up a point that I've spoken to with a couple trainers. Like, look, man, it's okay if it's not a good fit and you need another dog and you want to find, like I've seen that happen where people have gotten another dog, and it happens a lot more in the horse world, right? Because these animals are bigger. But it's like, you know what, I tried to bond with that animal for 2 years, it didn't work. I sold it or went to another place. And it's the same thing in working dog world sometimes. What do you think about that, Mark? What do you think about a dog that might not be the right fit for you? And I don't know.
It happens sometimes to people. There's no perfect dog, first of all. Like people are always, I think a lot of people search for the perfect dog. It doesn't exist. Every single one of them has something. And honestly, I'm a big believer, like, keep your dog. Keep it, even if it's like a hard dog for you, because you're going to learn some things that you would have never learned before. I had some challenging dogs, and I've had some great dogs. I would recommend to people, unless there's a physical danger situation where like the dog is aggressive and you are concerned about the well-being of people, I would keep the dog and I would learn what that dog has to offer. So
give me 1 second. I'm going to go get on these dogs.
Sure. I'm still here, so feel free to ask questions. I'll read them here in the comments, and I can respond.
Yeah, my wife just left, so all the dogs are like, woohoo, and I got to remind them, hey.
My dogs do the opposite. It's when my wife comes home that they all go, woohoo.
Oh, same thing with her too. Well, man, I think that we should end it here. We're going to continue this conversation over on the Patreon page.
For sure.
And so we're going to have some exclusive content that we're going to offer there. I just put up a link in the comment section. If you want to join there, please do. And we're going to get into, I got a couple notes here about the different fur savers, how to know if someone's a great teacher, right? And so we're going to talk about that. You can't microwave experience. We're going to be going a little bit more into that, turning a hobbyist into a professional. And I also wrote down, if you love something and you want to give it away for free to see what the value is, right? And so
yeah,
we might get more into that. We're all and just see what we talk about, but we'll see you over on the Patreon page, you guys. I'm going to be doing this with every single guest that I speak with. Join us over there, and it's been fun talking to you here. How do people find you, Mark?
If you want to look me up I'm on Facebook. That's probably the easiest thing to do. If you look up Mark Helper Pellon, just like it kind of reads here, that's how you can find me. That's my dog page. I also have a personal page that's for me and my wife, and it's Mark and Lakin, Lakin Pellon. I tend to do all the dog stuff on one page, and then all the Marine Corps and family stuff on the other. And in case anybody was curious, my middle name is not actually Helper. I made that Facebook distinguishing change many years ago for a very specific reason. We have this term called decoy in the dog sport, and I refuse to be a decoy. A decoy is mainly a person who does trials, which I love. I love trials, and I love testing myself in that arena. A helper is somebody who develops dogs, and there's a big difference between the two of them. And I believe that at heart, I am a helper more than I am a decoy. So if you're curious, that's not my real middle name, but you can find me with that same name on Facebook.
Well, and if you look at the meaning of decoy as well, I mean, it means to have like a surrogate, like a duck or something like that, right? Usually to attract other mammals, like for hunting, right? But it's also to lure or entice from an attended course, typically into a trap.
And I am that. I am the trap. I am an alter ego. When I'm doing a trial, it is not this nice guy anymore. I am not there for the dog's sake. I am there to test that animal. And I have to do a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of thing for decoy work. But I love being a helper more than anything.
Awesome, man. All right, Mark, we'll say bye to everybody, and then we'll see you all on Patreon.
See y'all.